to the Pelican Brief with your host, David Tatman.
Welcome to the Pelican Brief. We're here today with Senator Sharon Hewitt, who is a candidate for governor. I've been working with Sharon for many years, and she's been just an incredible leader in the state Senate. And now she's offering herself to be the governor of the state of Louisiana. And so welcome to our show.
Thank you, David. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being here. I know you're busy. You're on the campaign trail. So I know you, and a lot of people know you, but for our audience that doesn't really know you or your background, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you. I would love to do that. So I'm born and raised in Louisiana. I grew up in Lake Charles, a Barb High School graduate, and then went to college at LSU. I'm a mechanical engineering graduate. I went to work in the oil and gas business, went to work for Shell, which was back in the day a pretty unusual thing for women, not only to go into the oil and gas business, but also to go into mechanical engineering. I think I was the only mechanical engineer female in my class. And Shell's training program back in the day was for every new engineer to spend your first year on an offshore drilling rig. So you learn the business kind of from the ground up. And so I did that, and of course was very excited and enthusiastic about doing that. It was not an easy place for women back in the 80s. And for most of the guys offshore, I was the first female that they had ever seen. And so there were a few challenges. You know, the living quarters weren't really set up to accommodate women. And certainly there were a lot of men that thought that women were ruining the oil business. But as with any challenge, you know, if you prove that you're going to outwork everybody and that you're a team player and that you're smart and you deserve to be there, and you never ever throw the foreman under the bus. You know, once you figured all that out, then it was kind of clear sailing after that. And so, fast forward over a 20-year career. When I left the company, I was managing Shell's Central Deepwater Gulf of Mexico business, billions in assets, hundreds of employees. About 10% of the company's production came through my area, my division, and loved every minute of it. That's where I really developed my leadership skills, my understanding about the budget, how to be laser focused on the things that matter, to companies in terms of the products and the services that you're delivering, to be laser focused on those things. But I walked away from all of that almost on a dime because our third grader was struggling with his multiplication tables. And I thought it was because I was traveling too much, and my work and family balance was a little bit out of whack. And so I was lucky enough for us to be able to afford to live on one salary. And so, as my husband likes to say, we traded in the Mercedes for the minivan. And I came home and became a full-time mom and loved every minute of that. I got involved in the schools. The things that I think make our schools better are great volunteers, and brought a lot of that engineering kind of know-how and love of STEM and tougher curriculum and more, hands-on type science experiments into the schools in St. Tammany Parish, where my husband and I were raising our two sons. And then after they grew up and left the nest, so to speak, and got jobs and went to college, I began thinking about what's next for me, and realized that of all the things that I had been able to do up until that point, what made me the happiest is when I felt like I was making a difference. And I know that sounds corny, but it really wasn't about the money or any of that stuff for me. It was really about making a difference. And so I felt like our state was heading in the wrong direction, and that decisions being made in Baton Rouge were directly affecting me and my family in ways that I had never noticed before. And so I decided to run for the Senate, was elected by 19 points, which is pretty good for a first-time candidate. No one in my family had ever been in politics before. It was never anything I ever thought about. But engineers are pretty good problem solvers, and so I thought the state had an infinite number of problems that needed to be solved. And so I was glad that I ran. I have enjoyed serving. I'm finishing my second term now in the Senate. I serve as the Senate Majority Leader on the Senate side, have had an opportunity to legislate in many, many different areas, but always in those areas that I felt like were most important to moving our state forward. And so it is kind of that same mentality and same thought process that drives me to want to run for governor.
Well, I appreciate that. Just FYI, I have a special place in my heart for mechanical engineers because my son is one. And you have clearly proven yourself as a leader in the legislature. You chair the Senate and Governmental Affairs Committee. You were heavily involved in a leadership position in the reapportionment, which was really a big lift. You traveled all around the state. You had a chance to really meet people. So tell us, you kind of said why you wanted to be a senator, and you've been a great one. So tell us what really was the push to want to run for governor.
Well, it hits home for me, and I think many other families. We have two sons. They both went to college out of state and have jobs out of state and are raising families out of state and probably will never come back to Louisiana. Because there aren't opportunities here for them. And as I travel around, I hear lots and lots of people say the same thing and shake their heads when I talk about this. We have to give people reasons to stay in Louisiana rather than reasons to leave Louisiana. And that is absolutely why I'm running, is I want Louisiana to be a place where families and businesses want to live and work, and we can all grow old together, because we have so many assets and so many reasons why people love our state. But right now, we are pushing people out, and we need to find ways to bring people back home.
Yeah, I agree. My son just moved to Virginia for a job, and I don't think he's coming back. And so, but perhaps if we get the right governor and the right leadership, that might happen for us, right?
We can bring your son and my sons too.
It would be great
back.
to have them all back and reverse that brain drain that is so detrimental to our state, because we're educating children in our universities and our schools, and then they're going and becoming productive citizens in other communities, and we're losing that whole generation of intelligence. So let's pretend we're going to play a little game, right? So you're elected, you're governor, poof. What are the first things that you would do if you were elected governor?
Well, thank you. That's exciting to think about. I have already said that there is one thing that I will do on my very first day as governor. And that is related to the oil and gas business. Certainly, my roots are oil and gas. It is one of the significant industries in our state. It has been our state's bread and butter for a very long time. Unfortunately, I think there has been, for some years now, some extremely harmful litigious lawsuits, we call them the coastal lawsuits, that have driven the industry out of our state. And as I travel around and talk to oil and gas executives, they say, we'll never come back to Louisiana. They have moved to Texas. There are 30 some odd states with active oil and gas drilling and opportunities, and they're not coming back. And it is because of our litigious environment and the coastal lawsuits in particular. I have said on day one, I will pause the coastal lawsuits. 200 oil and gas companies are being sued and accused of having violated their coastal permits and being accused of the reason why our coastline is sinking. Those lawsuits are ill-founded, David. Now, for those companies that did violate their permits, then we need to investigate and hold them accountable. And for those that didn't, we need to apologize and say, we should not have sued you. Please come back to Louisiana. These lawsuits have affected 200 companies, and our course of action so far in Louisiana has been to sue everybody first and then ask questions and do the work later. What I will do as governor is pause the lawsuits and say, Secretary of DNR, my new Secretary of DNR, go do your job. Go back and let's look at the permits and who violated their permits. Let's hold them accountable and drop the lawsuits for all of these others that have not. We have lots of things in state law at our disposal to enforce the permits and to assess penalties and fees and all of those things. We can elevate it to the Attorney General. Those are all things that we should do that will send a strong message to the industry that Louisiana is open for business. We have a energy crisis in our country, and we need to make sure that we take care of our energy needs first here in our state. And part of doing that is by being open, to oil and gas opportunities while we are continuing to be a leader in the country on renewables and other forms of energy, the people who are leading the effort on those things are traditional oil and gas companies. Those are the ones that are talking about and investing in hydrogen and other renewables, renewable diesels and wind and solar. Those are the companies that are investing the dollars to do that because they want to broaden their portfolio as well. But we are cutting off our nose to spite our face in Louisiana, and so I want to make sure that we have reliable energy in Louisiana. We continue to be a leader in LNG, exporting LNG, and that Louisiana continues to take care of the needs of our citizens as well as the rest of our country in terms of energy independence.
Well, I think that, again, to try to reinvigorate our economy so that there are more jobs and more opportunities and a larger tax base, right? It sort of carries over in so many layers and make our state stronger. And, I followed those coastal lawsuits that have been going on for a long time, and something needs to be done about that. So, I know you, everybody at the Capitol knows you, people around the state. I know in your district, you've got Orleans, Plaquemine, and St. Bernard, and St. Tammany Parish.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very diverse district. And so tell us, they know you there. So tell us how you're going to win this campaign in the rest of the state.
Well, we are putting a lot of miles on my my SUV right now for sure. It is about getting into the communities and talking to people, everyday people, about the kitchen table issues that they care about. This race is not going to be won by throwing a bunch of money up on TV. This race is going to be won by talking to voters about issues that they care about. And it is, what are we going to do to keep our kids and our grandkids here in Louisiana? People care about, David, they care about good education. They care about jobs. They want affordable living. They want less crime, and they want less government. And those are 5 very easy things to talk about and things that I have worked on in the 8 years I've been in the legislature and the things that I am going to focus on as governor.
And look, I love your messaging. I'm on your email list, of course, because we go, again, way back. But I love your messaging because you're really talking about core issues, right? You're talking about things that we can do to make our state a better place so that fewer people leave and maybe people come back. And we reinvest in our state and in ourselves. And you've been a big advocate for so many things. So speaking of that, talk to us a little bit about what the 2023 legislative session looks like for you and for the state of Louisiana.
Well, I'm excited about this session. I get excited about every session. Every session is a little bit different. It has a little different flavor. But it's an opportunity for us to come together and make a difference. And, I am always proud of what we accomplish every session. There's always a few things that I wish that we had gotten over the finish line that we did not. And so that becomes the starting point for the next session. This session I will have, as every legislator will have, the opportunity to bring 5 general topic bills. I'm going to focus my bills on those things that I've been campaigning on and basically have been legislating on for the last 8 years. One of the first things that I'm going to focus on is education. I've done so much work in education over the years because education is the silver bullet to me. This is how you lift people out of poverty. This is how you get people into good paying jobs where they can provide for their family. A good education system is one of the first things that businesses ask about when they're considering, where do I want to locate my business? Well, you want to make sure that the families that work for you have good education options for their children. So I've done a number of things over the years. STEM has been one of the funnest things that I've been able to work on: science, technology, engineering, and math. And of course, with my background, that should be no big surprise to you. I want our schools to have a technology-rich environment because kids don't realize they're learning when they're doing STEM. And it doesn't matter where you live or what your political party affiliation is. Everybody wants their kids to have more STEM. I passed legislation in 2017 that created a statewide focus on STEM. And now we have regional STEM centers around the state. And the idea behind that is to close the gap between what the industries in that region need and the educational skills that we're developing through our educational system. Close the gap, because I want those students to go right to work for those industries in their area, so those industries aren't having to go out of state to hire talent. So the STEM focus has been very popular. I've supported that over the years by getting funding, state funding, and lots of different things, partnerships between industry and educational institutions. Last year, I started focusing more on computer science and computer coding. Computer science is something that states all around us have been building into their education system. The bill I passed last year basically says we're going to put computer science programming K through 12, every grade level. Not that we're trying to create computer scientists, out of every student, but just because every student needs to understand the basics of computer science, because it is in every aspect of our lives. It's in every industry. It's becoming one of those fundamental building blocks, like reading and math and, writing and arithmetic, like it used to be back in our day. So computer science is going to be a big part going forward. Computer coding, I passed a bill last year on computer coding that will allow computer coding to be considered one of the foreign language options for high school students to meet their foreign language requirements. That will start next year for next year's freshmen. I've focused a lot on literacy. Half our third graders aren't reading on grade level. And if you're not reading, you're set up for a lifetime of failure. The bill that I passed 2 years ago puts all the building blocks in place to seriously address our literacy problem with universal screeners, with 3 times a year, with teacher interventions, communication with the parents so they know exactly what they need to do to get their kids caught up to speed, not just in third grade, but kindergarten, first, second, and third grade. That bill will be fully implemented starting next year. And so I believe starting next year, in my first year as governor, and then in my first term, those first 4 years, we will have every kindergarten through third grader reading on grade level because of the seeds that I planted 2 years ago. That's the work I've been doing. This year in this session, I'm going to start tackling math, because not only can our kids not read, they also can't add and subtract. And it's because we are not teaching the fundamentals of math, just like we weren't teaching the fundamentals of reading, phonetics. We're going back to the basics in math. And so I've been working with the superintendent on that, and we'll have a numeracy bill in this session that will model very similarly to what we did with the literacy work that we did 2 years ago. So that's education. That's my first bill. I'm very excited about that. That was kind of a long answer, but something
education is the great equalizer, right? I mean, if you have a great education, you can overcome almost anything.
Almost anything. It is, and without it, it is just a huge, huge barrier. I had a lady reach out to me from the Opelousas area recently through my social media, my campaign social media, and she said, what you're saying about literacy is true. She said, I teach high school, and there are kids in my classes that cannot read in high school.
Unbelievable.
So that's our fault, right? That's not the fault of the students. We have failed those students by allowing them to be in that situation, and we absolutely have to fix that, and I'm committed to fixing that. Workforce is another big issue. We need alternate pathways to success for students. Not everybody wants to go to college. And lucky us, in Louisiana, we have so many opportunities for students to get industry-based certifications, 2-year degrees, apprenticeships, concurrent with their high school diploma because of the Fast Forward program, that they can go right into the workforce. The other thing that we have done, as you know, is we created last year the M.J. Foster Promise program, named after Governor Foster. This is what's going to help provide funding for students that maybe went to work right out of high school and they're still struggling. And maybe they're working now 2 or 3 jobs. They have a couple of kids and they can't quite make ends meet. they want to go back and get new skills, get reskilled, new skills, additional skills, but they can't quite afford the $5,000 or whatever it might be for tuition to go to one of our community technical colleges or other options to get the training. These are people that want to go to work. They want to pay their bills. They want to support their family, and they just need a little bit of help. And so the work that we did with the Foster Promise program was well thought out. In terms of implementation, we see there's a few problems, and we're not getting all the money out the door and getting help to as many students as we would like. So the bill I'll have this year in session will help address that and kind of fine-tune that a little bit so that we can be much more efficient and help a lot more students. The third bill I'm going to work on is insurance, David. Gosh, if I hear about anything at all, it's about insurance. And, of course, that kind of fits into the economy. People are leaving our state because they can't afford to pay their insurance bills. Between flood insurance and homeowners insurance, it's more for many people than their mortgage payment. And so we have to address that. The best way to do it is to bring more insurance companies into the state. The more competition, the better, right? And that will help drive down premiums, give people options so that they're not stuck with Citizens, the insurer of last resort, that has a 10% upcharge on the premiums. So the bill that I have, and there will be a number of bills this session on insurance because it's such a big issue, and there's a lot of work that we need to do to make Louisiana a place where those companies want to work. And we know that we have some systemic problems where we're an outlier compared to other states and how they manage their insurance industry. One of the things that we did in the last year that was smart is this fortified roof program. These are super duper constructed roofs that apparently do not come off and they will not leak when you have a hurricane, and they've been tested in many other states already. We want to make sure that for those people that choose to have a fortified roof, that not only do the insurance companies benefit from that because you have less damage, less risk because you have a better roof, but we also want to make sure that the homeowners benefit from that decision too, because the fortified roof will cost them more than it will a traditional roof. And so the bill that I have will require that the premiums be adjusted downward so the homeowner gets some benefit and through reduced premiums, after looking at it from an actuarial standpoint.
Right.
But that's going to be a win-win for both the industry and for the homeowners to have better roofs, and everybody kind of wins. Less damage, lower cost to insure your house.
No doubt. And look, I love your bill. I think it's a great bill because it's going to translate into lower premiums for policyholders. But the research shows that if you can keep a roof on a structure, damages are 70% less than they are if you can't. And so what a great idea so while you're trying to build the economy back stronger, you can build our homes, we can build our structures, we can build our community with stronger roofs and to be able to withstand these storms, because we know they're not going away, right? They're going to be more frequent, and they're going to be higher winds, and we know that, so why not build the roofs so that they can stay on? I love that bill. Look, you've always put your money where your mouth is. You've always stepped up to the plate. A few years ago when we were working on insurance issues, you were front and center, even though that wasn't your committee. It wasn't what you were necessarily called to lead on, but you always step up and lead. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate that. And I love working with you. I guess it'd be great to have you as governor. I'd miss you in the Senate, but I guess that's a better position, right?
I can lead a lot more from the front of the bus than the back of the bus.
Well, and I don't know if Stan's going to see you anymore or less, right? And so tell us, just in sort of closing thoughts, tell our audience, we have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I would ask the voters, as they're considering candidates for governor, and we have lots of them, look at what people have done, not just what they say they're going to do. I believe the best predictor of the future is the past. So look at candidates in terms of their professional background, look at what they've done already and the roles where they've served, and see who really would be the best to lead our state. This shouldn't be a popularity contest. It shouldn't be about who's been in politics the longest or who grew up with whose family. It really needs to be about moving our state forward and making sure that we send a message to our kids and grandkids that we're done being mediocre. You know, we deserve better. Our families deserve better. And we have great examples in many other states of policies that we know have already worked. We don't have to start from a blank sheet of paper. We know the things that will work. We just lack the leadership and the courage and the vision to go do those things. And so I am very committed to doing that. I am running for all the right reasons. Again, whether I'm governor or not, I'm going to be very grateful for the opportunities and will, always seek to find ways that I can contribute in a positive way. But I think that my background stacks up against anybody's, and I would love the opportunity to lead this state and to build a team that the people in Louisiana will be very proud of. And I would ask for you to consider me, to vote for me, to support our campaign. You can get more information at SharonHewitt.com.
You beat me to it. I was going to ask you. So SharonHewitt.com. I know you'll be open to talk to people, have coffee, do events. I know how hard it was to book you for this show. So I know you're out there getting the work done. So we really appreciate you being here. We are the Pelican Brief. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon. You can also find us on all the social media platforms. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And that handle is at the Pelican Brief 225. You can also email us at thepelicanbrief225@gmail.com. Again, thank you for being with us. And that is our show.
The Pelican Brief is an off-script production.